a student at UT, and I'm a computer science major, so naturally I don't go to class. But I do want to learn JavaScript on my own. So of course, the first thing I do is Google it. First resource that comes up from that is Wikipedia. Start reading that, but that's a little bit too technical for my taste. So I start browsing some more and find W3 Schools has some wonderful tutorials, start going through those, but there's a feature I don't quite understand, and I go to somebody's blog and find, oh, that covered it quite well, but I need to figure out where do I start? How do I get this set up in the first place? I find a tutorial on YouTube, well, that's helpful, but I don't understand its accent. So I find MIT OpenCourseWare. And, the lecture's great, but it's going really long, and I don't need all this other information. So I find another website, but the stuff I really need they charge for, and the other stuff they have is just text. It's not really useful. End up on University Reddit for some community feedback, and as per usual when I'm on Reddit, it's all downhill from there. So I start talking to some of my friends in computer science and other students at UT, and find that this is a common problem. You want to learn something on your own, but how do you get started? There's a lot of wonderful, great resources out there, but they're not contained in a single place. There's got to be something better than this. And the alternative is IWishIKnew. IWishIKnew organizes the best of the free quality online learning content out there and puts it into one single learning platform. So how do we go about doing that? Well, first, we've got to aggregate the content. We've got to bring it all together. We know where the content is. We can identify that quite easily. But we've got to organize it into a structure that's comprehensive according to the user's needs. If I'm absolutely clueless, I should be notified that before I learn JavaScript, I should probably know something about how to turn the computer on, or maybe something about web development. If I'm a beginner, I should be directed to introductory courses, and if I'm quite advanced, I should be introduced to JavaScript's more advanced features. And finally, once you've got that structure, you can present it in a learning platform that provides incentive to actually complete the course and makes sense. I go from point A to point B, and there's no gaps in my knowledge, and I know where to go once I've finished point B. So to show off what we've developed over the course of 2 days is just neat.
We'll do a demo as always. So this is the home page. It's almost like a Google interface. You basically type in what you want to learn. Right here, log in. If you have an account already, you want to go back to where you last stopped. So let's say I'm in the case of Evan. I want to learn about JavaScript. Dynamically pulls up content from the internet and organizes it in a way that's easy to learn. So the first one, aggregation. How do we aggregate content? 2 ways. 1, you crawl the web. 2, use existing material. So crawling the web is really hard, and for purposes of this weekend, we decided to start out with something simple, and what a lot of people go through is YouTube. So we pull the YouTube feed of videos, and then we organized it, right? After you aggregate, you have to organize the content. So if you're a beginner, start here. So we analyze these videos based on keywords and what the material actually is about to sort it into the beginner or intermediate category. So if Evan doesn't know anything, you start off from the beginner category. And you can see, beginning JavaScript tutorial functions. Keep on going down. What if you already have experience? Start here. And these are videos that are slightly more advanced, but may not be interesting for Evan, but it could be helpful for someone else. Okay, let's say you're done watching videos. Take a quiz. This is a quiz on W3 Schools that we called the web and we found a quiz. So, in the future you can have, quizzes, materials, exams. We can even track the progress of the student. You can, incentivize this and, excuse me. So, like I said, you can incentivize this. You can, make it almost a game-type interface. Along the sides, one way to make revenue would be ads on the sides. So, this should have been up there. This is a little mistake on how it showed up. But, based on your keywords, it's a very targeted audience. If I'm searching for JavaScript, the user is interested in JavaScript. So you can present ads. This is from Google products, focused on JavaScript. So that's one way you can make revenue.
Next slide. So we have a double bottom line business model. And so what that means is that we have the traditional profit bottom line, but we also have the social bottom line. So our social bottom line is to make sure that free and open coursework is always available to anybody who wants it. And for our profit bottom line, we have 2 ways that we achieve this. First is through affiliate advertising. People like, if you're trying to learn Java, you'll have ads for O'Reilly's Java, etc. And the second is through our progress incentive program. So you may have seen things like this in a recent app called Gym Pack that tries to get people to go to the gym more. So basically what this does is, say you log into IWishIKnew and you want to learn Java. And so you go to some courses and you say, I wager $5, minimum $5, that I'm going to learn 2 courses of Java in the next 2 weeks. So you put that $5 on the line. So as it currently stands, if you succeed and you learn those 2 lessons, money goes right back to you, no harm, no foul. However, if you don't, those $5 go out your door, and for right now toward charity, and IWishIKnew takes a bit off the top. So that's the progress incentive model. In terms of the market, it's a growing market. We have a 12.9% growth rate from last year to this year. Of the people we talked to, 32% of students actually used some form of e-learning in the past week, and 44% of those said the noise was actually a problem. Some of our potential partners, Khan Academy, they have 4 million unique views each month, and Udacity actually they have 100,000 new followers, new students in the first 2 months that they existed. So with a growing market like this, it's easy to do a lot of good financially as well as socially. So.
All right, so we have a very rough prototype right now. There's a lot of features we'd like to implement. The incentive program is something that we think can really take off because literally the players in the online education field have nothing like that. It's a model that's only been applied to health and nutrition and exercise, and even like how to sleep longer. So what we could use is a little bit of help. We need educational contacts because none of us are educators, and we really believe that the best way to develop an educational curriculum is with educators. And we need developers. We need people to know how to crawl existing content and build databases on what we already have. And we could use some more research, again, into some of the features we touched on. And again, this is something we haven't really fleshed out with the incentive model, but it could be huge. No one in education is doing it right now, and there's so much room for growth there once you have some sort of traction with the content you've gotten. So that's IWishIKnew, an online incentive-based learning platform built from the best of the web. Thank you.
Let's start Q&A for IWishIKnew.
So are you thinking of this as having any kind of editorial curation, or is this going to be automated?
The idea is to make as much automated and dynamic as possible to limit the human element, because we don't claim to be or think that we'll do better than the best curriculum writers out there, but what we can do is minimize that so you can get as much breadth as possible.
So one of the examples of that is that the algorithm that we're using right now for YouTube, the YouTube API, calculates based on ratio of likes to dislikes. So these things are kind of already established.
I think the ideal situation is when you have it both, almost a supervised learning where the human is initially going through this content, curating it, separating, taking out the non-quality videos and content, and making sure we only have quality videos and content. But eventually, you can use some form of supervised learning to gradually reduce the dependency on the human and put it more on the computer.
As a computer science major, I have a few things to say. One, I guess other than YouTube videos, how do you assess the quality of content? For example, W3 schools, actually if you go to a website called W3schools.com, it will tell you a lot of ways why they think it's detrimental to education, that they have a lot of inaccurate statements on there. And also kind of wondering how you handle, like, if you have 1 like on the YouTube video and 0 dislikes, that's an infinite ratio. So, but you can't really be confident in that either.
So the YouTube thing is just for the simple prototype. I mean, what we'll do is we'll have, basically, we know these are good quality sources and pull from them based on tags identifying, this is related to JavaScript. YouTube is just for example purposes.
And I think the one, the whole mention dividing by 0, that's more of a technical problem than really a legitimate problem. That's an easy thing.
Okay. And my second question had to deal with just how general, because when I want to learn JavaScript, I just go to the website and they'll have tutorials, good ones too. And that's not hard to find. It's how to do something specifically in JavaScript. And how can you do that? Like, how do I manipulate certain DOM elements or something like that?
So initially it would just be, I think computer science is a good way to go because its early adopters will help build some sort of database to begin with and develop traction to begin with. But the idea is to get breadth, and yeah, most of the time when you're looking things up, you're just looking, I just need to know how to use this quick feature. But there are lots of people that have no idea how to use JavaScript at all, and they would like to become a master at it, and there's no good route to do that right now.
So first, I love the idea. Organizing the web is very valuable. I mean, what you're doing is a great idea, and I hope you push forward with it. Did I hear that you said it exists today? You're already doing this?
That
I mean, it was a small prototype, but we
Yes.
went down.
It
Okay.
started existing
That's
today.
great, and I hope you continue to push forward with that. How many customers did you actually talk to? We
We
gave
talked-
percentages, but I didn't get a sense of number.
We talked to 55.
And they were all students?
No, we started at Walmart and ended up at UT. And so the about 40.
It was a mix, mostly students.
It was great. It was 40 UT students.
What was the demographics of that study?
But predominantly students.
We would start with students, but I think the model would work for anybody who's
And you did this on your day that your kid got here?
We did.
Good job.
How do you handle copyrights of all this material that you reproduce on your website?
Right, so we don't actually copy the content, we provide links. I mean, for the situation where it's open source, CC free, we can use the content, otherwise, as we just do with providing a link.
all of it would have to be in the public domain, and there's so much content out there. That's the idea. Just pulling from those sources. We wouldn't go after like a private anything that's already copyrighted.
Yeah, I'm just still kind of confused here because it seems like what you're going with here is essentially an aggregator with a search engine. Am I right? Like, you're basically going out there and you're mining a bunch of resources and you're sticking them all in one place.
Sure.
And but then you're adding the extra layer of a search engine. Well, what's to stop me from just like using Google and typing in how to learn JavaScript? Like, what's the value here? Because I already know Google and I know where Google is. Like, what's the value to me to use this as opposed to something I already know?
Right, Google doesn't organize, they organize by relevancy to, one feature is how many other links to it, but with this, it's targeted towards learning. What if I'm a beginner? Like, where do I start? The very first link for JavaScript is their technical website with the entire source code. If you're a beginner, you don't want that. You want a tutorial, a lesson. So it organizes by, where you should go, where you should start, and provide a framework for you to continue on.
And just real quick, the interface is something we'll work on, but I think the idea of just having that search box is it would be pulling from what we already have, essentially. But when you come to a learning site, it's nice to feel like, oh, I just want to learn JavaScript, and let me search it, even if it's pulling from the records we already have. So it may not be 100% dynamic, like Google is.
Hey guys, my dear members of 3DS family, you guys know these guys. You can talk to them over beers later. I'd really love the panel to be able to express their opinions, and for the groups to really be able to take advantage of their insights. So if we could really limit it to them.
So unfortunately we're out of time, but let's have a round of applause.